Michigan Out of Doors Magazine's OD is brought to you by Country Smokehouse of Almont, offering the best quality and satisfaction in homemade meats, sausage, and jerky. It's a Michigan destination. Check out the website at countrysmokehouseinc.com. And by Williams Gun Sight, located in Davison. Williams Gun Sight has Mid-Michigan's largest selection of used guns with over 2,000 in stock every day. Check out the website to view inventory and prices. 38 years of outdoor tradition continue in Novi at the Outdoor Rama Show. There's over 4 acres of outdoor equipment and features at the Rock Financial Showplace on February 24th through the 27th. Don't miss it.
Well, you know, it's something that we promised to do a couple of years ago. We put in the baiting ban in the context of CWD surveillance for 3 years. We've done that enhanced surveillance for 3 years. This is the final year. We haven't found any CWD, thankfully. And so I think we're obligated to, it's a bargain we struck with the hunting public to have this discussion. I haven't said that. If somebody asks me what my perspective is, and folks have been asking me what my perspective is, I called the question because I promised I would. But our perspective is that baiting presents a risk to the deer herd. There is no absolutely safe way to do this. You know, folks will say to me, well, why can't we bait until we get a disease? Well, that's like saying, I'm going to smoke Lucky Strikes until I get cancer, and then I'm going to quit. And we have an example of that right now in Michigan. You know, we've got bovine tuberculosis in the Northeast. And the best modeling that we have now suggests that we are going to have that forever. Forever. There is no getting rid of TB in the Northeast Lower Peninsula. And so now we are confronted with the question of how do we contain it there forever and not let it get anywhere else. And the reason it's there is supplemental feeding and baiting. That's why we worked long and hard at this. And the department was complicit in that. We were telling people to do it. We learned our lesson. And having said that, though, all of that, if you're going to bait, are there better ways to do it? Well, surely there are better ways than multiple bite baits. And so we're going to have an intelligent and civil discussion in front of the commission. They do not have their minds made up. They want to hear from people. I only hope that at the end of the day, say we were to re-allow baiting, the reason we do it isn't because folks say, well, I want what I want when I want it. As it turns out, I hold hunters in higher esteem than that. I like to think of them as something more than simply recreational in their pursuits. And I don't want to be disappointed. Now, obviously, it represents a disease concern. It's very clear that baiting and supplemental feeding, recreational feeding, all of that stuff is the reason there's brucellosis in Wyoming, is the reason there's TB in Michigan, is the reason that CWD might be spread here in this state. And what we do about that, I don't know. And is there for all kinds of things that bring animals together. You know, folks will say, well, I just don't get that. I feel like, you know, if I was drinking a Coke, spitting in it, handing it to them and saying, you want a drink? Go ahead, have a sip. You like that? Well, obviously it's an issue. Now, on the other side, and this is very important, a lot of people bought land up in the Northeast Lower, for example, or in other parts of the state that frankly are just crummy deer habitat. Crummy deer habitat. But they could bait and they could bring deer on. They might as well have had a piece of parking lot. They could put some bait out in that parking lot and deer would come. And they need it, frankly, to get their investment out. I get that. I also get that there may be special circumstances where it makes sense. You need to hold an animal for somebody that's challenged. And so those are the kind of conversations that I want to have. I don't want to have this conversation about the economic harm it does to carrot guys or the economic harm it does to sugar beet guys, because it doesn't do that much harm. We know that after 3 years of this. And there are a lot of folks, I think, that kind of like the fact that baiting is gone. Although I'll tell you what, I haven't heard from a single one of them. I've heard from a lot of guys and women that want baiting back. So it's going to be an interesting discussion, and the commission will initiate this discussion in March. What that will be is about a half-hour presentation where we talk about what other states do in terms of baiting, supplemental feeding, recreational feeding all across the country, followed by about an hour, hour and a half of public comment. Anybody who can come should come and talk, or they should send a letter to the commission and express their views. In April, another short presentation. What I have been asked to do is give all the possible permutations ranging from You know, we maintained the ban to put it back the way it was and sort of everything in between. And by the way, not just for the Lower Peninsula, but for statewide, because one of the issues that we've had is confusion on the part of the public. You can bait in the Upper Peninsula, you can't bait in the Lower Peninsula, and so forth. Run through that, as well as some discussion about why didn't this work, other than the fact that people thought it was a silly law. Are there other things, other parts of it? I mean, that's a big piece of it. Why did it work? Well, people didn't want to follow the law. There are ways that we could get better compliance, because ultimately, in the future, all bets are that we're going to do this again sometime, because we need to. And how do we get better compliance in the future? And then finally, in May, we'll come forward, if there's an order to bring it back or some variant, we'll bring that forward in May for discussion, and finally for action in June, because May and June is when we do our deer regs so that we can get them into the hunt brochure for the following year. I want as many hunters in that room and a diversity of viewpoints in the room. I want to see a genuine public debate about the issue. You know, not unlike the mute swan debate that we had at the last commission meeting. There were people on both sides of the issue. It wasn't just people who had a need to whine. There were lots of discussion. There was intelligent discussion, intelligent discourse, and the commission then had a really sound basis for making a decision on the basis of social policy. And this is social policy. You know, from a biological point of view, baiting is unsafe. From a social point of view, maybe there's a reason to do it. What I want doesn't matter in this discussion, just like what I want in a whole lot of things doesn't matter. And so I try to keep what I want to myself and not try to put it into context here.